At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES.
Only on Super NES.
You're listening to the SNES broadcast with your host, Soul Blazer.
Hello, everybody. This is Super NES Podcast, episode number 192. So, as always, this is Greg, joined by my co-host Joe. And we are covering a game that I wanted to cover for a while now, but I just never got around to it because Super NES catalog, as people probably know, is just so big. But this was a recent game in a high score challenge that Phil, the No Score Gamer, does on his Discord server, and it reminded me that we haven't covered this game yet. So I figured, well, let's get this one done kind of the way with, because spoiler, I think it is a fun game, but we're covering a early Super NES title in this one, Super Ghouls and Ghosts by Capcom. So I have a lot of history with this game, having played it way back when it first came out. Joe, do you have any experience with this game, or how much experience do you have with the franchise in general?
This is probably something you're going to hear a lot during this episode. There is a love-hate relationship with anything from this series. But it goes all the way back to the arcade where, I had all my Chuck E. Cheese quarters, stolen from the original Ghosts and Goblins arcade cab, to I got it for Christmas one year for the NES, and it resulted in me having to get 2 new controllers. I played the spin-offs on the Game Boy, which weren't that bad. They're not as punishing, in my opinion, as the NES game or this game. And then I had the Sega Genesis version of this game, which is just Ghouls and Ghosts. They're
right. We will talk about that.
And if I remember correctly from this playthrough, they're relatively similar, but the Genesis one to me felt a lot more difficult, and that might be programming and whatever else. But so, and I have played this one as well in the past, because I'm a masochist, and if like I said, there's a love-hate relationship. So I have played it before, and I've put some time into it, but well, you'll find out later on how far I actually got.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I also had Ghosts and Goblins like the NES as a kid, and there was a quote from a book I had at the time which covered the game, said that at times this game is as much fun as having your guns tattooed. It's like to have your gums tattooed, which is definitely true. It's super frustrating, but still the game, the game makes you want to come back and try again, because it definitely has that addictive quality to it. So I never did beat it on the NES. I finally got to the point where I was able to beat the devil, only to find out that nasty trick where you have to go back and do it again. So which is also stable for the franchise. So I never actually did finish the whole game entirely on the system, but so I definitely have a lot of history with the history of the franchise as well. Most people are probably familiar with the franchise, but we'll just touch about but this is the first game covered on this podcast. We'll just talk about the franchise real quick. Ghosts and Goblins originally came out for the arcade in 1985, with the home ports following. Then the sequel for that was Ghouls and Ghosts, which came out for the arcade in 1988. And then also, if you're talking direct games in the series, you also you had some like obscure Japanese only games as well too. But like the next main game we saw here in the States was Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins. That was just for the PSP. PSP, like, it's a very good game. It's definitely one of my. It's definitely. I think that may be. I think that may be my my favorite game in the franchise that I've played so far. But it's still available if you have like a PSP or a Vita to download. So you definitely. So it's worth. So I think it's like. So I think it's worth like checking out for as well. You also had Ghosts and Goblins Gold Knights 1 and 2, which was which was designed for the mobile platforms, which is like is pretty good. And then surprisingly, like out of nowhere, last year we got a brand new game in the franchise, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, for Steam and modern consoles. I've not played that one yet, but I've heard
I heard it was pretty good, and graphically it hits all the right notes. But
yes, it looks 16-bit. So
I hear the difficulties there and all that. So yeah,
of course, yes.
So it's nice to see that the franchise still has some oomph behind it, and that they are continuing to evolve, which is nice.
Well, for a long time, people thought the reason I say the game came out of nowhere is because, like I said, it had been over 10 years since the last Ghosts and Goblins game, and Capcom mostly have been doing the spin-off franchise Maximo these days. So, getting a new game in the franchise, which is pretty faithful to the original games, is definitely came out of I definitely was surprised.
And I love the Maximo series.
There also was the Gargoyles Quest series as a spin-off, which is also like very fun. The Gargoyle Quest series is more it has more RPG aspects to it. There's still a lot of platforming to it, but it's also the original game was for the Game Boy and the sequel came out for the NES, and both those games are very fun. So I'd have to recommend checking. I'd have to recommend checking both of those out. So. Basically, in all the games, you're playing a knight named Arthur who's trying to save his princess, like Maverius. Insert name a demon in this particular game here, kind of like thing. So, very basic idea. So but yeah, and this game here, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, is like no exception. As Joe mentioned that I've mentioned before, there is a difference, and it is easy to get confused because the American naming system doesn't really make it all that clear. The Japanese naming system, I think, is a little bit better, trying to make it easier that this actually is a different game. But so Ghouls and Ghosts was the sequel to Ghosts and Goblins that came out like an arcade, as I said before, in 1988. They got ported to various consoles and home computers the following year, including the Genesis, which is the version that Joe said that you played. It also got a Sega Master. Sega Master System port as well, which I don't know if you ever checked out, Joe. But it's very impressive, being like an 8-bit remake of the game.
I mean, by then that was being only sold in Brazil, right? So a lot of those games are.
I don't know if that was a European-only game. Caught me off guard with that question. Let me find it.
Because some of those games are impressive.
Yes.
My God, there's a Street Fighter 2 that runs on the Sega Master System, and no, it's not good, but the idea that there is Street Fighter 2 running on the Master System in itself is impressive.
Right. Yes, definitely so. All right, here's a list of Sega Master System games. No, it was American released. It was. It looks like it came out. It was not released in Japan. It was only released in North America, Brazil, and Europe, 1991. I mean, late Master System release. It's by that point, that may have been like one of the last North American releases. Actually, let me see. Pretty close to one of the last ones. The Master System. They were a there were 7 games released for Master System in North America on 1991, and that was one of them. But wow, they actually. It's too bad the system was already dead by that point, because all 7 games, all 7 games like a Master System ports that year, like, were very good games. Dick Tracy, Strider, Cast of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse, Golden Axe Warrior, Spider-Man vs. Kingpin, and Sonic the Hedgehog. So, but of course by that point the system was already dead and buried. So, at least here in North America. But yeah, the Master System port of the game is like very, very good. So, why Capcom did not put that game to Super NES, I could not find anything definitive on. The common belief is that Capcom may have wanted to keep the system. Capcom may have wanted to keep the game exclusive for the Sega systems, or they may have been asked to by Sega to keep it exclusive. But also Capcom may have felt the original game was a bit dated by that point. So there also was the fact that Ghosts and Goblins, like Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I'm probably going to be doing that a lot in this podcast because the names are very similar. Had a very troubled development cycle. The project originally started back in 1989, but was stagnated for a while. So it may have been originally Capcom did want to put the game to Super NES, and that's originally what the original intention was. But then, a new team came on board later on. They decided to go ahead and just to make a different game. So they. Like many other games, they had a very difficult development cycle. The Master ROM was remade several times, finding it in the deadline. So the game finally got released in Japan in October 1991, and very quickly came out in North America the following month. Europe got the game a little bit over a year later in December of 1992. So there are other ports of the game which we'll talk about here later on. But yeah, so Super Ghouls and Ghosts is a little bit clearer if that's a different game, but if you look at the Japanese names, because the Japanese name for Ghouls and Ghosts, which I'll try my best to pronounce here, was Chu Nakamura, whereas this game in Japan is called Dai Nakamura. So it's a little bit easier in Japanese. That's a different game. That name in Kichikuri translates literally as Super Demon World Village. So, again, cool Japanese names. So Super Ghouls and Ghosts does play very similar to Ghouls and Ghosts, as Joe mentioned. They definitely optimized the game for the Super NES to take advantage of the system's strengths, especially with the graphics, and Mode 7 effects, and the music and music whatnot. So there are 8 stages. You have to go through, again, like I said before, you have to go through the game twice just to be able to get the proper ending. Some differences with this game, for earlier games of the franchise, you can double jump in this game, which is very helpful, and absolutely critical in some areas. You're able to upgrade your armor 3 times. You start off with steel armor, and you're also able to find a bronze armor, and eventually the golden armor, which allows you to be able to use enchanted weapons on the magic as well. Also, you also upgrade your shield from the moon shield to sun shield. So there's a lot of weapons in this game. Definitely more than past games. Some of them are new. Some of them come over in past games. Real quick here, you have the lance, the dagger, the crossbow, the scythe, the torch, the axe, the tri-blade. You have the magic weapons, which you can use, the bronze, the golden armor, the flaming lance, the magic dagger, the magic crossbow, the magic scythe, the magic torch, the hefty axe, and the shuriken. So there's also magic in this game. You can also use thunder, fire dragon, seek, tornado, shield, lightning, and nuclear. So definitely more options, definitely more weapons and powers available to you. Beyond that, the gameplay is classic Ghosts and Goblins. If you played one game, you pretty much have played all of them because the gameplay in them is very, very similar to just the differences with the twists and the weapons, the mechanics, that kind of stuff. Not that it's a bad thing, the formula is solid. There's no need to reinvent the wheel every time. So, So, what was it like going back to this game again after all this time, Joe?
It was like visiting the neighborhood bully. The one that is like, he pretends to be your friend when no one else is around, but as soon as his friends come along, he starts beating the crap out of you. That's what this felt like. I don't remember there being a double jump before, so that was pretty cool when I first noticed that in this game. And it was like, I hit the wrong button, so I meant to jump and attack, and my big thumb did hit the attack button, but I also, jumped again, and I was like, I have a double jump. And then, that I don't know how to put it. Like, I love the challenge of the game because I don't want anything to be too easy, but at times it feels cheap. Not cheap as in like it was designed cheap, but some of the deaths feel cheap because you're not playing the game the way you should be. So, as this being a platformer, I've heard the description of puzzle platformer, which kind of makes sense. You can't run and jump and be Mario. Let's put it that way. This is not Mario. Right.
First, like eventually. Eventually they get the golden armor.
Yeah.
You can definitely do that.
But everything is precise. Once you jump, You're committed. You are completely committed, and that double jump is helpful because you can change direction because of that double jump. But also, you got to keep in mind that you're committed, so there better not be any enemies that spawn behind you. Man, let me tell you. All right, first level, I discovered the double jump, and upon discovering the double jump on that first Rocky Tomb thing that you come across, a chest popped up. I didn't even think of anything. I'm just like, oh, it's a chest. Chests are good. So, throw my lance a couple times. I break the chest, and a magician pops out. And he just blasts the hell out of me. So, that first life was a real wake-up call. Because I hadn't played any of the Ghosts and Goblin games in quite some time. And
that wasn't Ghosts and Goblins also. There was they're definitely with the trap.
Yeah, so it was just like one of those it's like being waterboarded. Like you might have passed out the last time you got waterboarded, but this time, it's right there. You wake up and it's just a reminder. Oh man, I'm still here. I'm getting waterboarded. That's kind of what this was. I was just like, oh my god, it's still Ghouls and Ghosts. It's Ghosts and Goblins. I have to be more calculated in what I'm doing. When I jump, it needs to mean something. When I'm attacking, I can't just stand in one place and keep attacking these zombies that keep popping up because they're gonna keep popping up.
Yes. Right.
You gotta just keep going, and you
have to keep going. Yeah, the game encourages that because the time limit in some stages is very very tight. So there definitely are times where almost there definitely times I ran out of time because I got waylaid and I wasn't gonna didn't have enough time. So yeah, there's that. So, but there are also hidden chests you can find just by hidden chests you can find just by jumping or jumping in certain locations. So learning those definitely key to your success. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't have the patience to learn them on your own, looking up a guide to see where everything is, it's not a horrible thing to do. So, but I definitely hear you. I definitely hear you on that. I agree with all of that. So, what was your preferred weapon of choice?
Once I finally got it, the crossbow. The
Crossbow's
crossbow,
awesome, yes.
by far,
So-
is probably the best weapon in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. If I can't get the if I can't get the crossbow, the sight's also like very good. I also I also like that one like a lot too because it's large and also like you can throw different angles, so it's a nice weapon as well. So the dagger can be useful in some places, especially bosses because you can like throw it like so fast. So the torch of course
Right.
sucks like it does like kind of the Ghost of Goblins game. So. The axe is okay in certain situations. It's very hit or miss dependent weapon, I think. So the lance is fine for basic for basic weapon. And if you manage to get through to your second playthrough, the tri-blade's awesome. The tri-blade definitely a preferred weapon of choice playing round 2. So, but what about your magics? Which kind of magic did you like? What were your favorite magics to use?
So I really didn't experiment with the magics. I literally was
fair
like,
enough. Yeah, because
I
they're
had
hard
the
to-
projectiles, and like I said, you had the lance most of the time, and then I got that crossbow, and like I was avoiding every single drop that it was coming up because.
Well, you can only use magic once you get the golden armor, and it can be difficult to find to keep the golden
Yeah,
armor sometimes.
so
I do understand that, but
I did get the
definitely
green
worthwhile.
armor, so that I could actually, speak to that. That was fun, being able to have that, and it looked like it gave a slight upgrade to the weapon that you have, which was nice.
It does, yes.
But that was pretty much my experience.
Yeah, the bronze armor is the first armor you can find that allows you to be able to use the enhanced that allows you to be able to use the enchanted weapons, which is basically the same weapon like upgrade it. So, and then the golden armor allows you to be able to use magic. So, and then you also get the moon shield with the golden armor, which by itself can take a shot. But you can also find the sun shield, which allows you to block 3 shots. So, and that's but that really is the key to this game. More so than Ghosts and Goblins, the game encourages you to get very, very, very good at a stage because it's like once you know what you're doing, how to attack, where the enemies are, how to jump, etc., and you're able to find the golden armor and sun shield, you become almost unstoppable. So. So the previous game did this too, but this game in particular I think emphasizes again repeat playthrough again and again and again to be able to get good good at the stage, which can be not everybody's play style is like that, which I totally get. So it really depends upon your so it really depends like on your play style, like in large part I think. That's why it's willing to like tolerate that stuff. For sure. So, but also very nice in this game is the option screen. Because I'm not sure if you took advantage of that, Joe, but there are, believe it or not, 4 difficulty settings you can have in this game. So, beginner, normal, expert, expert, and professional. So, it's usual bit where like experts like arcade level difficulty. So, I played a beginner. I'm not gonna lie. The game is at least beatable. I think a beginner. I was able to do it. But still definitely a challenge. And like normal, I think is going to take normal. I probably could beat the game normal, but I had to put in a lot of work and effort on it, which definitely don't doing the patience for. But I'm assuming you played also like a beginner difficulty level, right?
I played at normal, because I'm crazy. I got to the second level on normal, and I couldn't get past it. So I put it on beginner, and with beginner, I was able to get to the third level. But that's it. That's as far as my playthrough got.
You're also able. Yep, you're also able to give yourself extra lives in this version too, which is
and I saw a lot of people. I watched a few, reviews of this, and I talked to, looked like sometimes you can just Google, not Google, but search Twitter for certain game titles. You can see people's commentaries and whatnot of, what they think of certain games sometimes. So this game, a lot of people say that if you can up the lives and continues in the options, you can get through this game no problem, because it's basically like having unlimited lives, because by the time you die and continue, they give you so many continues that, and then you occur more continues as you continue and hit score milestones. So basically this game would basically be, beatable, because it has basically unlimited continues, but it's not unlimited continues. And I can definitely see that may at some point be possible. But man, I don't think, I know I no longer have the patience for these games. That's the one thing I learned real quick. I don't have the patience anymore. So when I say I got to level 3, each level's broken up into 2 sections. I got to the second section to where, you can get to the boss and whatnot. And I was just the boss clobbered me, and I was just you know what? I've seen enough of this game. I understand the mechanics enough. I'm good. So that's why when you were golden armor, I'm yeah, I have in my notes that you can get golden armor, but I don't know anything about it because I didn't get any golden armor.
Yeah, I'm with 9 lives, it does help. It does help to go through the game, but it's still definitely a challenge. But something I was also to add on to what you're saying before, Joe, about how jumps have to be very carefully calculated, and committed because you're slow and whatnot. Weapons
right.
too. You can only fire so many weapons. That's what. That's why I'm saying the dagger is a nice weapon in some areas. Because of rapid.
Yeah.
It's rapid firing. So, because if you're taking on certain enemies, especially
right.
the Red Devils, and your weapons miss, you're in a world of hurt. So, because those guys are just annoying this game like they are in the original game.
I think one of the things that bothers me more than anything else is the fact that you have to be very precise with your jumps. It's almost like pixel perfect, which is crazy, because some of the platforms that they have you jump on are smaller than some of the platforms you would expect Mario to jump on. And Mario's had some pretty small platforms to jump on through the years. Yes,
Castlevania also
Castlevania, but
pinpoint jumps.
Oh my god! I couldn't believe the jumps that they were asking you to do. God forbid, if you get it on the first try, you're a wizard. That's what I'm gonna say, because some of them, I tried multiple times, and I was just I am on it. Why is it not registering that I am on it?
And there's some difficult jumps early on in the game too. For example, right away in stage 1, there's that area there's an area come to you, midway through the stage.
Yes.
Trying to cross an ocean, ocean on those platforms, and that's fine on its own. There's also waves come every now and then. Unless you're on the platform, you're gonna be knocked off. So definitely challenging jumping right there. So, basically pros and cons. I'll just finish up the basic gameplay discussion here before we go on. Pros, despite our complains, it's still a very fun game. Still classic Ghosts and Goblins, really. So it's you're still, you're left feeling frustrated, but you're also left wanting to come back and try it again. So the game, at least for me, I'll ask you. You can say your opinion in a second, Joe. But at least for me, the game still has that addictive, fun quality to it that the previous games the franchise did, despite the insane difficulty level. I really like the Golden Armor edition. I really like the new weapons. Like they make for some very like fun, some fun like gameplay obstacles. The stages are well designed. I thought the enemies also the enemies also like were very well designed. There was a nice combination of like old enemies and also like new ones like in this game. So especially the boss fights are challenging without being like insane. But the Conqueror's fight, for example, I think is a lot of fun to do. But there definitely are some nice there definitely are some nice some nice gameplay aspects there, like for sure. So. Downsides beyond the stuff you already mentioned. The game is kind of slow. You have to be very deliberate with your emotions. Well, you're going to have so many words on screen at a time. The time limit also like can be difficult. The game's very unforgiving in mistakes. Particularly, you have to be like really pinpoint accurate with your jumps or with your attacks sometimes to be able to advance. Being a Super NES game, this game also suffers from slowdown, which can be helpful in some areas, particularly at like some very difficult areas for sure. So. The checkpoints that this game uses also I think suck. There's not enough there's definitely not enough checkpoints. You definitely can be forced to replay halfway through a stage if you happen to die before reaching the next checkpoint. I definitely recommend playing this game save states if you're playing this game nowadays, because like the checkpoint system is just like kind of like unfair, I think. But and then of course also you have to there's the same you have to go through the game in twice to see the true ending gimmick this game has also as well, so which can be very demoralizing. Maybe you don't know about that going in. So before we move on to other things, so before we move on to the graphics and music, Joe, anything else you want to say about the gameplay?
It's like I said, 20 minutes ago. Love-hate relationship. The game's good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the legacy is there. It's fun.
Joe, talking, I can't hear you.
Yes, it's frustrating. But when I was younger, like, things like this I loved because it made me memorize what was going on, and it was crazy. But I love the game.
Note to my editor.
In gameplay.
We're gonna have to have do some cutting out here.
Yeah, that's why I just kept on talking, so this way, he can link it up. Sorry.
Damn it.
You could make a note. Really? That's not good. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Testing.
Hello? 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 Well, it says all your shit's cut off, Greg. I hear you.
Testing,
you hear me?
Testing.
Hello? Hello? Greg completely cut out. Maybe he's resetting his Discord. Testing.
Okay, testing. Damn it,
I'm
why
talking.
can't I hear you?
With my super sultry voice.
Oh. Fucking hell. Seriously?
I can whisper in your ear.
No, god damn it. I yanked I yanked my headphone jack out. And did not know it because it's a
So you can hear me now?
So yes, I can hear you now. You didn't. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you didn't stop recording, did you? Okay, all right. We'll just leave this on.
Yeah,
the
he
Odyssey
can edit
editor,
this
however-
out. That's what he gets paid for, right?
But I assume you. Yep. So I assume you already finished talking about the gameplay, so we'll just move on after that.
Yeah, I was pretty much done saying what I had to say, so we can move on.
Okay. All right. Okay. So going on to the graphics. For another Super NES game, I think this game looks like pretty good. The sprites are large, detailed. Art looks good. The enemies have nice color to them. There's some graphical effects, Mode 7 stuff going on here. The music also very good. The Ghosts and Goblins usually has a pretty good soundtrack. This game's also no exception. I really love the classic Ghosts and Goblins theme being used in Stage 1. That's nice to throw back like the original Ghosts and Goblins. The music's kind of a little bit tense and it's scary, which kind of fits the fits the game. So all in all, the graphic music in this game looked pretty good.
For this being a late 1991 release, I think the graphics are fantastic. The sound and music is top notch. Even when I'm dying, half of the reason I want to get back into the game is to be able to listen to that music, because that music is fantastic. It's motivating. It's amazing. This game also really does a good job of using Mode 7 and not overusing Mode 7. The biggest thing that came to me when I was looking at reviews and everything else was the spinning tower towards the end, which I would have never been able to get there anyway. I would have had to watch a video anyways. But to actually see gameplay and the tower just spinning and everything else, I was just like, wow. I was like, that's really good. Like, that's amazing that they came up with that idea and incorporated that with the Mode 7. And yeah, like, it's one of those, like, oh man, like, it makes me want to get the original cart or boot up the emulator and put in the cheat code so that I can't die. So this way I can get to there and I can see that. Right. And I probably will at some point, but it wasn't fit for this gameplay.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I forgot to mention previously is that, Capcom only published this game in North America and Japan. Nintendo was actually published the game in Europe. So, but I think that probably because Capcom didn't have a European branch at that point. But the cover artwork, like this game also looks very good. As well too. But this game. So this game was despite the difficult development cycle, the game reviewed pretty well when it came out. We'll talk about the reviews here a little bit. And also been ported numerous times over the years, since its original Super NES release. So both the arcade version and the arcade game and the Super NES version were included in the Capcom Generations Chronicles of Arthur collection, PlayStation, which was also saw released in Japan for Saturn, the Sega Saturn only, as well. So the game's also included with the Capcom Classics collection for PS2 and Xbox, and the Capcom Classics collection Reloaded for PlayStation Portable. The game's also available. The game probably need to say was available at this point now on both the Virtual Console, the Wii and the Wii U, and also the Nintendo 3DS version as well too. And the game's also included on the Super NES Mini, so which is not which how I play it. So again,
and they included it in the Switch Online as well.
Yes. Yep. I did not know, however, that there was a remake of this game made for the GBA a while back, 2002. The GBA version features, besides having the original game, which is also called normal mode, the game also has a range mode, which has like redesigned levels and bosses, taken both from Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts, which depends upon your success upon like keeping certain levels of armor or high difficulty levels or like a whatnot. And also in a range mode, the Goddess Bracelet, which is item you need to be able to beat the game properly, is available to you in the first playthrough. So one of the perk of that version of the game is you only have to play the game once. So that enhanced GBA version was also available on the Wii U Virtual Console as well. So after play this version, I'll check it out.
I'm gonna have to at some point check out the GBA version of this as well, because in a couple of the reviews that I saw, they said that the GBA version is the superior version. So I want to see how that is.
I think so. Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah. So probably no shock. There were some differences. There were some changes made to this game between like. Between which region that was released in. In the Japanese version of the game featured crosses. Those are changed to changed to Ox, like the regular version like the game. The final boss in the game was also renamed. In the Japanese version of the game, he was named Samuel, which is definitely which was an archangel from the Bible. So again, wanting to keep the censorship. The final boss was renamed to Sardius for the North American version of the game. The European version of the game, because PAL runs slower than NTSC, they probably realized this game's going to be insanely too difficult if we release the game as is. So they remove certain enemies and obstacles. And in the European version of the game to both reduce difficulty and slow down. So, which is probably for the best. Reviews. If you look at the game, the aggregate score, from game rankings, if you look at a combination of everything taken from online, both contemporary and also modern reviews of the game, is about 80%. So 4 to 5 stars. So that kind of seems consistent across the board. All game gave it 4 out of 5 stars. EGM gave it 36 out of 40. Eurogamer gave it 6 out of 10. Famitsu gave it 27 out of 40. GamePro gave it 23 out of 25. IGN gave it 8 out of 10. Nintendo Power gave it 16.6 out of 20. Pretty much across the board. They all mentioned the same pros and cons that we already had mentioned earlier. They really hashed upon the point that the game doesn't rely too heavily on cheap tricks and deaths, which yes, I do agree with. It's definitely a problem with the game, but controls, as I mentioned, is being superb. We really haven't talked about that too much. The game only requires 2 buttons, which you can also remap the controller if you want to. The controls for this game, I think, are very good. They handle if I made a mistake, it was because I made a mistake, not because of the controls. Right. I will say that much. So, so the game sold over 1 million copies. So it did sell very well. For sure. And so a lot of people still consider it to be a very good game. Some people even go so far as to say that it's the best game in the franchise. But I wouldn't go quite to that. So I wouldn't go quite that far myself. And I said before, I think the PSP version is even better. But there's a reason this game was included in the Super NES Mini. It's still very popular to this day. So despite its very high difficulty level, I can see why. Definitely is fun. It definitely has that classic Ghosts and Goblins foaming feel to it. So, have you played? So do you have any final thoughts about that before that you want to say, Joe, before we move on?
I say if you have history with this franchise, go and enjoy this game. There's definitely a lot to be had in the game, and kind of just work with it. Just take it slow and take baby steps. Learn those patterns and be able to jump where you need to jump and use that double jump wisely, and just enjoy the game. Where this isn't something I'm going to recommend to like your kids. Do not introduce this game to your kids unless you want to punish them. I guess this is a good way to do that. But outside of that, I mean, it's like I said, it's a love-hate relationship, So I want to sing its praises, but I also want to tell you that it's hard as balls, and it's incredibly difficult. But it's a difficulty from start to finish, so it's a fair difficulty. It's not like it ramps up and then like they stomp on you. They stomp on you from the very beginning, and then they say go. So, I mean, you're gonna walk around in your underpants for probably a good portion of the game. Let's just put it that way,
Yes, indeed. So, it's a difficult series, but it's a series, but I don't think it's the most. But I don't think it's the most difficult game on the console. Do you think this game is harder or easier than the Super Star Wars titles?
I'm going to tell you that I personally think this is slightly easier. Just because
I agree with that. Yes.
Now that the Super Star Wars games were cheap, they threw stuff at you to just throw stuff at you. Where this is at least a bit of a pattern, so that you can learn it and you can get around it. The Super Star Wars, it was like, oh, there's someone that you got to jump over or kill. But oh yeah, by the way, we're just gonna randomly throw like some flying, swooping enemies at you that you can't block because they're gonna swing come zooming down at you. But we're also gonna add a few laser blasts coming from off the screen. Like it was like, I love Star Wars, but those games are brutal.
Yeah. I actually think this game is a little bit easier than Ghosts and Goblins, like in the SNES, like for that matter. But most, which is kind of insane me saying that, but I do think because of things like the goat armor and the double jump, the game is a little bit easier. But there's also a trick you can also use, like Ghosts and Goblins, where you can where you can despawn enemies. Did you ever do that, Joe? With just kill inch, get a guy on the screen and back off, and he's gone. So it's cheap, but it works. For sure. The let's plays in this game are pretty quick. You know what you're doing. Most people. Let's plays in this game, which include both circuits, by the way, is i.e. the full game is somewhere between an hour, 20 minutes. So it's not an insanely long game. Again, if you know what you're doing. So the speed runner for this game appears to be currently at 32 minutes. That's
I mean that's insane to me, but also I can see someone who's been playing this for God knows how long and has memorized everything. I can see them literally getting through the game probably in that span of time, especially being able, because essentially it's the difficulty that prolongs the gameplay in this game. If you take out the difficulty and you know what to do and who to kill and where to jump and all that other stuff, and you're a speedrunner, you're gonna know all that stuff. I can see this very easily being beaten in a half hour.
Yes. So there are some other codes, tricks, glitches, that kind of stuff that this game has. If you want to practice, for example, in this game, or if you're just tired of dying over and over again on stage 1, there's level select code you can use. You need both controllers plugged in though to make it work. Go to the options screen, highlight exit with controller 1, then with exit highlighted, push L and start on controller 2, and then push start on controller 1, and you'll be able to pick your level. So there's also a way to get invincibility in stage 5 by doing a glitch. It's a little bit complicated, so I won't go into details here in this, but but just know that this exists. There's also there's also a bonus message you can get. I actually ran into this by accident. Maybe you also saw it, Joe. If you hold up while picking up the key at the end of a level, you're going to watch on the screen saying "nice catch."
That's awesome.
So, it doesn't do anything, but but it's there. So, eBay. As you might expect, being a popular game, being a game that's been available in numerous versions like over the years, this game's easily found on eBay, and the price of this game is actually pretty cheap for a Super NES title. Even though, because of how because of how popular it is, I'm not sure which one to say, but yeah, 121 copies of this game are currently listed on eBay at the time you're doing the research. 176 copies were recently sold. These prices include shipping. Card only, ranging from $10 to $44. CIB was $35. The $35, the like read-up copy, all the way up to $220, like for a mint pristine complete one. So, pretty cheap pricing for Super NES prices.
Yeah, since the GBA version easily goes for $60-$70 just cart alone. So
yes, because that version got like one re-release over the years, compared to the so which is no longer. The Wii U store is gone at this point, right?
I believe it's completely shut down now. I'm not 100% sure. See, having modded systems, like store closures don't bother me, but also like it sucks also because of course I did buy games back in the day for those games, systems. It's just I've modded them and now I have backups and they're sitting on hard drives or whatever. But the last I heard, I believe both the 3DS and Wii U, if they're not already closed now, it's like next month. So
they are going through the shutdown process now because it's been done in phases. It's because the first shutdown phase was a few months ago, where they stopped taking credit cards. As the time like I was recording this, so I remember this now. In late June 2022, you can still buy stuff. You have to buy. You have to purchase a Nintendo ePoints card first, and then use those points to buy the game. That function's going away. Like in a few months. But the store's not. But as long as you have ePoints, big ePoints already loaded, you can still use those up until the final shutdown the stores, which is happening early next year. So, they should do with unfortunately, they're not going to leave it up at least for a limited functionality. Like, for example, like Sony caved into consumer demand. The PSP, PS Vita store is still up. For example, these days, you have to use. It's the same restriction for those stores. You can't use a credit card. You have to use you have to buy Sony points first, then use those points to buy the game. But at least they're still there. So at least Sony left the store up, and at least limited functionality. Nintendo's not even doing that because they don't. Because they, as they've shown clearly over the years, don't care about gaming or preservation, that kind of stuff. So, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I purchased some 3DS games a few months ago. That have an eye and Kid Icarus Uprising, because because any of that functionality was going away. But at least GBA games emulate well. So But yeah, anyway, $10 for the card is like a pretty good price. Like I said before, this game's also commonly available. It's on the Super NES Mini. It's on the it's on some of Capcom's collections. It's like very easy to get. I've not played Ghosts and Goblins I've not played Ghouls and Ghosts to Genesis in a long time. That's a straight arcade port. I know this game is very similar to that, but I'm not really sure what the differences are. Minus the golden armor and double jump. I definitely have to. I definitely have to go back and play that again. Have you?
No, absolutely.
Did you play that version recently, Joe?
Yeah. I had it growing
you
up.
said, right? Yeah. That's also very early.
Yeah, and I remember it being mind-numbingly difficult, and
Of course, yes.
Especially with the Genesis games, I got those a lot less frequent than when I had my Nintendo, because it felt like my sisters would also get Nintendo games for their birthdays, so it was like we would get Nintendo games like almost every 3 months, where with the Genesis, it was like my birthday.
Right.
Maybe Hanukkah. But generally it's like my birthday, that was it.
Yeah.
So it was like a full year I was stuck with a game.
Right.
Unless some rare occasion, like I did good in school or whatever, and they might reward me with a game. But yeah, like
right.
I remember playing it. I remember playing through and maybe getting through like the first 2 levels at the most. But that's that's basically how it was with these games. Even the original Ghosts and Goblins, it wasn't until I was an adult that I was actually able to beat that game. So
yes. Yes, for sure. So, but anyway, yeah. So that's the Super Ghouls and Ghosts, like a fun trip to the past. Still holds up pretty well today, I think, as far as gameplay goes. As long as you're willing to accept the game for what it is and accept it on its terms, which not every gamer will like. I understand that, because it's a very because games obviously have evolved a lot the last 30 years. So it's like that's why I'm curious. That's why I'm very curious to play Resurrection now to see how that game compares, because that game is a more modern take on the franchise. But I'm curious to see what they do with that. But but this game still, like Joe said, if you're a fan of the franchise, this game still holds up pretty well, I think. So anyway, as always, we appreciate you listening to the podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, comments, etc., feel free to leave us comments or thoughts on our Facebook group, or you can also send me an email directly to the SNESpodcast@yahoo.com.
I have a very public Facebook that you can find me at, and also I am on Twitter at JOESUX30.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. So, all right. So next up on the podcast is Joe's pick, and Joe wanted to cover a game I've never played. Really stayed away from it just because of reputation. Usually most movie tie-in games are not very good. But Joe's been talking some Joe's been talking some sugar about this one. So so I guess I'll see if I agree with him or not.
We are going to cover the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, True Lies. And I am super excited to cover this game. This is one of those games that, we'll get more into it, but I had it for the Genesis, and I had it for the Super Nintendo. They play pretty much the same, but as a kid, I only had a 3-button controller, and with that game, it's a little difficult to play with a 3-button. So finally getting to emulate that on the Super Nintendo and playing it was so much better. But we'll get into that next time.
Yep. That's fine. Like I said before, most movie tie-in games are not very good. So as I say with that one, just because of it. So some other people also said
I will say it's no Wayne's World. There's that.
I've not seen the movie in a very, very long time either.
Oh yeah, you should definitely watch True Lies. That's a great movie.
Does the game ever tie into the movie?
So the game is you're playing Arnold's character going through the events of the movie. So it does go.
Okay,
it parallels the movie very well. To the point where you get Arnold's cheesy line at the end where he's like, "You're fired," and he fires the rocket, and the guy goes, "It's fantastic." You got to watch the movie. I'm telling you.
Well, I have seen it. Just been Just been a very, very long time, I think. But Hopefully, it's available out there somewhere.
It's got to be. It's got to be
on Streaming Universe. I'll look it up like real quick. Now, I'm thinking about it, but yeah. So also we're also planning the special 200th episode coming up for the podcast. We're doing the podcast like draft episode, so stay tuned for that. So that is I believe our next one. Our next one's gonna have like guest hosts on it for sure. But no, the movie's not available for streaming in the U.S. Much to my surprise.
Yeah. Well, see, according to TVGuide.com, it looks like
it is available
Prime
in
Video.
So.
You should be able to watch it.
If you have VPN.
Well, right. I mean, you got a VPN, you can pretty much watch anything. That being said, do you have the Movies Anywhere app?
No, I don't.
I do own that movie through Vudu, and it's, I know, linked through my Movies Anywhere, and there's a function where you can share a movie, but
yeah. A lot of services like usually
but either way,
they go off of that,
yeah,
for sure. So yeah, it's Amazon Prime has a listing. It's also blocked in the U.S. So copyright restrictions, I guess.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
But so
right.
That's frustrating. Yeah, I forgot what I did cast
so
movie
good.
had too.
I mean, this is True Lies was essentially the end of like the summer box office action movie. Like that genre kind of died with this film, which is sad.
Yeah. No, I get that. So, but anyway, all right. So we're gonna be okay. So we're gonna be we will be covering that in our next episode. So stay tuned for that. So, as always, everybody, thank you for listening to the podcast. I appreciate it very much. Stay safe out there. Be well, and we'll catch you again later. Take care, everybody.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power. Super power.